Alright, Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rokal Kadash, double honors to the elder apostle, the great millstone that taught me this truth, and salutations to all you sincere laborers out there pushing this truth in all sincerity and faith and honesty. Alright, I want to thank Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai for giving me the spirit to do another video. So last article I ran across here says Iran and Russia signed major deal for huge oil and gas exploration after Trump's sanctions. Because of if you've been watching the news, Trump is put sanctions on Iran, trying to cut them off from the global market. And what's been going on is that the nations are not agreeing with those sanctions because, truth be told, the nations have already had pretty much contracts pending with Iran, because Iran has lots of oil reserves. Man, they are a big player in the Middle East as far as oil goes. So these countries have already made deals with Iran, and here it is, America, even its allies, Russia, the EU, all those EU nations. All right, they have a problem with that because those are business deals that they have with Iran, and here it is, America. Since America's not dealing with them, they expect the rest of the countries not to pretty much deal with Iran, and that's not how life works. All right, for Mr. Trump, here it is. Just because you don't agree with him, you expect us to be enemies with them. No, man, we already have deals with them, and we're going to continue those deals, man. And we'll just go around your sanctions. That's pretty much what's happening. All right. It says, reading on, it says, Iran and Russia have agreed with 3 other ex-Soviet nations how to divide up the oil and gas resources of the Caspian Sea, leading the way of more energy exploration. All right, so Iran and Russia have agreed with 3 other ex-Soviet nations. All right, and if you know anything about Russia, Russia was a lot more bigger than what it used to be. The big Soviet, the Soviet Union. All right, until they were divided and they fell. Okay, so what the Lord is putting a spirit on President Putin to get those nations back together. All right, so I'm gonna let this video play here. Might be some ads. I might pause it until the ads go away. All right, to keep the video going here. Let's see. That's if yeah, no audio is playing here. All right, so I'm gonna pause that and continue on. It says the Caspian Sea area is the world's biggest enclosed body of water. In the 5 nations, Russia, Iran, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and Azerbaijan. All right, hopefully I pronounced that right. It says have argued over its divide for almost 30 years. So let's see. It says Caspian Sea is the world's largest enclosed body of water. So let's look at that. Take a look at that real quick. I Google search that. So just see what we're talking about. All right, so this is the Caspian Sea. As you can see, we have Russia here, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Iran, and Azerbaijan. So they've been over 30 years. They've been arguing on how they're gonna divide that body of water. Okay, so we get a kind of picture of what they're talking about here. Let's go back to the article. It says some of the dispute of the delimitation of the seabed will require further negotiating. The timely deals follows a vow made by U.S. President Donald Trump to implement sanctions against Iran's energy industry in an attempt to restrict its trade of oil. So that's what they do. They put the sanctions on it, okay, to pretty much cut them off from the global market so they can't eat. So if you cut me off from buying and selling, that means I can't eat. You're trying to starve me out. That's an act of war. All right. It says the Caspian Sea dispute began with the fall of the Soviet Union, which had clearly defined Caspian border with Iran. So that's the beginning of that. All right, when the Soviet Union fell. Okay. Reading on, it says in negotiations with post-Soviet nations, Tehran has insisted on either splitting the sea into 5 equal parts or jointly developing all of its resources. So that's what they said. Either we split it into 5 equal parts, or we just get together and jointly develop all of its resources. It says none of its neighbors agreed to those proposals and 3 of them, Russia, Kazakhstan, and Azerbaijan, hopefully I'm pronouncing that one right, have taken turns trying to develop projects in the sea and have resorted to scaremongering with warships to scare off contractors hired by other nations. All right. It says many projects could be boosted by the deal. Among them is a pipeline across the Caspian Sea that could transport natural gas from Turkmenistan to Azerbaijan and further afield to Europe. And as we know, America does not want that. All right. They don't want that pipeline going through there. It says this route would enable the 2 nations to compete with Russia in Western oil markets. Okay. It says the states have also disputed some oil and gas fields, further delaying such projects. All right, because look, if you can't come up with a solution, you know, nobody can get anything done. That's why the projects are being delayed. Unless we come up with an agreement, we can't move forward. You know, that's how everything works. It says, but Azerbaijan still needs to agree on how to divide oil and gas fields with Iran and Turkmenistan, including the Kapaz and Cedar fields, which holds reserves of around 620 million barrels of oil. Ashley Sherman, principal Caspian analyst at energy consultancy Wood Mackenzie, said it would pave the way for new projects. He said standard fields and frozen exploration projects may well come back on the agenda. It says he believed that the unprecedented milestone would only yield a limited boost to production in the short term. But he said the increasing intent for joint projects in the South Caspian Sea is very promising. The deal comes after Trump cracked down on imported oil. Oh, beautiful. That's beautiful right there. That is beautiful. All right, I'm just going up the spirit on this article. I didn't read it. So it says the deal comes after Trump cracked down on imported oil. So see that? So here it is the whole time for 30 plus years. All right. 30 plus years they've been having a hard time on how they're going to deal with this sea. You know, deal with the resources. All right. But what? Soon as Trump kind of, you know, so Trump is putting his foot in his mouth, so to say. It says the deal comes after Trump cracks down on imported oil. So what? Trump pretty much, he thought it was going to hinder them, but he pretty much made them come up with a deal so they can come up with different ways to make money. Because here it is, they were fighting amongst each other. How are we going to divide this? How are we going to deal with the resources? How are we going to evenly distribute it? But here it is, Trump cracking down on the oil import. So they said, okay, cool, we got a deal now. Since he want to do that, or that forced him to come up with a deal. So that was a bad chess move, so to say. Okay. Donald Trump threatened to block all business trading with Iran. So it's like, hey, you gonna block trading business with Iran? That's gonna mess us up. Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Russia, like, yo, you can't do that because that's gonna mess up these this Caspian Sea here. All right, that's gonna mess up our deals with the Caspian Sea. It says, reading on, it says, let's see if this video will play here. See something really quick. Of course. All right. So with that being said, it's Satan. I see the problem. I see the issue now. So what we're gonna do is Satan, man. All right. What we're gonna do is go back up to this video. I see the issue now. Play this.
Last week,
there we go.
Because
prices, talked about oil prices a lot. Do you think somebody's manipulating this market
100%,
above $70?
100% OPEC is, and they better stop it, because we're protecting those countries, many of those countries. OPEC is manipulating, and you know, they allowed less than we thought last week. They have to put out another 2 million barrels, in my opinion, because we don't want that happening. Don't forget, the one negative to the Iran deal is you're going to lose a lot of oil, and they got to make up for it. And who's their big enemy? Iran. Okay, you think of it, Iran's their big, so they're going to have to do it. And I have a very good relationship with the king and with the crown prince of Saudi Arabia and the others around, and they're going to have to put out more oil.
Okay. So, continue on here. That video was played. We're going to play this one now. All right.
They're the legacy of quality pediatric care.
Well, I can tell you it's very smoky and it's making it hard for a lot of people to breathe. Behind me, you can see just how gray the sky is as the smoke is just hovering.
Alright, that's just Satan right there.
The attack caused minor damage to one of its tankers. But the suspension caused oil prices to spike in global this week. Saudi Arabia halted oil shipments through the strait after it says Houthi rebels attacked 2 of its oil tankers in the Red Sea. The attack caused minor damage to one of its tankers. But the suspension caused oil prices to spike in global stock markets and prompted the European Union to warn that this is a threat to international trade.
Hundreds of large ships pass through here every day. Since my country is overlooking Bab el-Mandeb Strait, our responsibility is to protect our security and to fight against illegal boats, smugglers, traffickers, and pirates.
Since mid-June, the Saudi-UAE coalition has launched an offensive in the port of Hodeidah in Yemen. Saudi Arabia says the primary goal is to safeguard the path as ships travel to the Red Sea. But other than worsening the existing humanitarian crisis, the coalition has been unable to retake the port. Analysts say delays in the delivery of crude oil could have an effect that's felt far beyond the region. But Saudi Arabia says it won't allow its oil tankers back into the Bab el-Mandeb Strait until it deems it's once again safe.
Alright, and after quitting the Iran nuclear deal, Mr. Trump threatened to block all business trading with Iran from accessing the U.S. market. Alright, it says nations including Russia.
Like every government department are stepping up our preparations for the possibility.
Right. Nations including Russia and China rejected the threats. Okay, so it's beautiful right there. They rejected the threats, so they're not in compliance with this crap Donald Trump is pulling. It says it also came as the U.S. imposed harsh sanctions on steel and aluminum imports. So why would China, okay, and Russia regard that decree, so to say, when you're at a trade war with them? That makes absolutely no sense. So they're gonna listen to you, and as into you saying don't do any trade with Iran, but here it is, you in a trade war with them? That makes absolutely no sense. All right. It says, in response to the sanctions, Iran has threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz, an oil shipment route which could lead to prices of oil rocketing. And if you don't know where that is, I'm going to search it up for you real quick. Show you that real quick, because that's right by Iran. And this is it right here. Show you the Strait of Hormuz. Right there, pinpointing for you. Right here. That's the Strait of Hormuz, and this is Iran. So Iran's planning on blocking that. Alright. And as you can see, the flow of that, you come through here with your ship and you go through there. Alright. So Iran wants to block this point right here. So I'm go back. Alright. Going down. It's like, yeah. At the queer, it says nation including, it says in response to the sanctions, Iran has threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz, an oil shipment route which could lead to prices of oil rocketing. Around 30% of all seaborne trade crude oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. A temporary closure could benefit oil producers in the U.S. and Russia, who could increase production from their own oil wells. So 30% of oil goes through this strait here, in this area right here. So if Iran blocks that, the prices of oil is going to skyrocket. So 30%, okay, of oil goes through. That's a lot, man. You know, it might seem like a little number. That's a lot. All right. But with that, I'm gonna get a quick precept here, and I'm gonna close out. It says, "Thus said the Lord, behold, I will raise up against Babylon, against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me, a destroying wind." All right, that destroying wind is talking about the nuclear missiles, because once that missile is detonated, it let loose a very destroying wind. You know, self-explanatory. It's destroying wind, a hot wind that pretty much incinerates everything in its path. It says, "And I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her, that shall empty her land in the day of trouble. They shall be against her round about." Okay, and you can see you cutting these nations off from making money. All right, so all of them going to be against you. It says, against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow. Against him that lifteth himself up in his brigadine. And spare ye not her young man, destroy her utterly, all her hosts. All right, that's a nuclear holocaust, a nuclear war. It says, thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans. The land of the Chaldeans will be America. And they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel hath been not forsaken, nor Judah of his God. That's talking about you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, the true Israelites. And also you confusion of faces that may look like the other nations. That so very farewell be Israelites as well. It says, of the Lord of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. All right. It says, flee out of the midst of Babylon. All right. And deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity. For this is the time of the Lord's vengeance, and he will render unto her a recompense. All right. So he's going to repay America for everything it's done. Here it is. America can put sanctions on people, can enslave nations of people, can put them through all kind of shit. All right. So the Lord's going to recompense America. All nations, as you can see, Russia and China said they're not abiding by the thing Trump said by putting the sanctions on Iran. They're still going to do business with Iran. All right. It says Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. So years ago, okay, America was able to say, hey, don't do business with them. And everybody was in compliance with that. But now, you know, that was when Babylon was a golden cup in the Lord's hand. But now nations aren't listening to America. It says that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. And that wine, that philosophy, that way of life, that democracy. All right. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her take balm for her pain? If so, she may be healed. And that's what Trump, he thinking he's going to heal America, make America great again by this trade war. But what? He's doing nothing but isolating America. All right. It says we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her. Let us go everyone to his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heavens and is lifted up even to the skies. So the judgment of America is set. All right. America is going to go into this third world war. Going to be led into this third world war. All right. And that's pretty much it, man. With that, I'm going to give all praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Kwakadash, double on the Apostle of the Great Millstone. Salutations, all you laborers out there, pushing this truth in all sincerity and faith and honesty.